a podcast to honor the gods.
This better come with a sacrifice.
Deus Ex Media.
Content Capable acknowledges the Indigenous people on the land on which we record this podcast, the Turungurung people. We offer our respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Sovereignty was never ceded. Welcome to Content and Capable, where I will take every opportunity to brag about the amazing successes that my friends have, and I will do it on a podcast publicly because I have that platform. I don't know, it's a thing. Anyway, this week, I'm Sam, but this week I have Taylor from Deus Ex Media itself. Hi, Taylor.
Hello, I'm back. I exist still. Woo!
Yeah, woo! You've it's been a while since you were last on. I think
it's been a year.
I should be I've
just been consistently around this time each year because that was your first episode, and then just gotta keep it the same time of year.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you want. No, it's been a busy year since we last spoke because there's been a lot of changes in terms of the network and everything, which is, that's, to think that we last recorded in March last year and it's now June, as of recording, the very end of June. But, and we are, I don't know, we're ready for another episode.
We're a totally new network and we've finally met. And you've stayed
we killed the old network with our bare hands
in a river. We drowned it.
Yeah,
straight up.
Actually,
murked
that
it.
is accurate.
We straight up murked it in a river. It's fine. What good times.
In a river with unconfirmed levels of poop.
Yes.
That one's a shout out to the Richmond peeps.
As Tina once told me she would never put her poor Taylor in a river with too much poop in it.
And you know what? We trust her with that one.
And that's why I will never invite anybody into the river that is within viewing from me. Who knows what's in that river? We don't.
We don't know. I tried to explain the James River to someone. That was a whole process.
Sometimes there's shit, sometimes there's not. You never know. Yeah.
Exactly. Look, we're here to talk not about shit in the unconfirmed existence of shit in a river. We're here to talk about your master's thesis that you completed recently. First of all, congratulations. That's like a whole achievement in and of itself.
That's how I felt about it. It's fine.
I feel like that's how everyone finishes after a set of education, whether it's, university, a bachelor's degree, or high school, or, then, every step beyond. You finish it and you're just I just want to collapse on the floor.
Yeah, so it was rough because I graduated in 2020. So it's actually my undergrad thesis. I didn't have to write one for my master's. And the reason why is I specifically chose a master's program. I did not need to write a thesis. So I went to Penn State, and in order to attend college, I had to be in the honors college to get enough scholarships to be able to afford to go. One of the requirements, the rest of the requirements were fine. It was a GPA above 3.5 and taking a certain amount of honors classes and all that jazz. But we were required to finish a thesis. As listeners might remember, the world's shit hit the fan in spring 2020. And we were on spring break, And they were like, yeah, y'all aren't coming back.
Bye-bye.
And so I didn't have access to the library or my advisor or any of the stuff I needed to really finish up. It was really great.
What fun.
And truly, it was supposed to be like 60 to 80 pages originally. I got to 40 and I gave up. Like, it was April. I gave up. And so what I did was I restructured it to focus on truly what I wanted to get across, which was my thesis. For those who don't know, I'm a teacher. I've talked about it here on the show before. Was on how to support students with emotional disorders in the classroom. So specifically focusing on depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. But a lot of what I cover in that is applicable to just life.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, it's obviously a really important part when it comes to just general education, because you're not going to get good results if your well-being isn't in a positive space.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no, my goal with my students is I always tell them I want them to be physically and mentally happy and safe and well before I care whether or not they know the emperors of the Mauryan Empire. Like, I'm as long as they get the general themes of history, that's my general goal. You know, if as long as they pass and they've got the general understanding of what history is, that's all I care about. Now, once we get into the nitty-gritty, if they are, you know, emotionally unwell, I am not going to be nitpicky about them, you know, missing an assignment here or there, or truly, my paper is about flexibility. Is pretty much the flexibility and taking the time to learn yourself. That is essentially the theme of my paper. And then I called out the current education system for not doing those two things.
Of course. Like, why would the education system be equitable and understanding of, you know, individual people's issues and, you know, needs and desires and, you know, problems? Obviously, it's fascinating that you mentioned, you know, well-being, because I do remember previous guests from last year, and I'm going to forget her name, even though I've been watching her videos all afternoon. Oh no. Yeah, Mrs. H, teaching Mrs. H on TikTok, she talks about marking on improvement rather than, you know, actual ability of, like, you know, and the rubric that she looks at is, like, marked around, have you improved in your knowledge and understanding of what's going on, rather than have you met the requirements that, you know, X, Y, and Z have set that haven't been in a classroom for the last 50 years.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, like, there are some things that are just objective, like a multiple choice question. Like, there's not much flexibility there, but I don't know how Australia works, but each state has, like, specific standards that teachers have to teach to. In Pennsylvania, where I live, specifically has standards for reading and writing in social studies. Because social studies classes aren't a tested subject here in the standardized testing world, which don't even get me started about. But, you know, a lot of what we do in the social studies is very much carried over into English classes. So when I am looking and reading through short answer questions or projects or things like that, it is important to know where your students are at.
Yeah.
And B, think about what they've done. Because I teach for a cyber school, so my students are from all over the state, including Philadelphia, where a lot of them live in neighborhoods that are not necessarily the safest. And on more than one occasion, we've gotten emails saying, hey, so-and-so's sibling or parent or friend was shot last night. And so, and unfortunately, we've had students shot and killed in these situations. So I can't expect a kid to complete the same project after they've had such a traumatic event as a kid who is currently in a stable situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that carries over into real life, where a boss, for example, cannot expect the same level of productivity, the same level of, especially if we're talking about a public facing job, the same level of, excitement for their position if they don't take the time to understand where their employees are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is where, working culture has failed a bit in the Western world, where
Definitely.
we're taught to work until, we drop dead. And, that has instilled in us in our education system, and even, in our early childhood as well, not being around your parents through incredibly formative years and bits and pieces. It's part of, and I've got to make it clear that, it's everyone's individual choice, but it's kind of part of the reason why, having a parent at home at all times, a stay-at-home parent, does most of the time work well, because it's, you've got someone there looking after your developmental needs, advocating to other adults for, fair treatment and bits and pieces, and are aware what's going on. If I was working 9 to 5, my child's at school from 9 to 3, I'm not going to have time to, process with them what's going on at school, how they're feeling emotionally, plus have time for myself to unwind, etc., etc.
No, that's, and there is, research about, the efficacy of having a stay-at-home parent. Obviously, my family, there was no way. We just couldn't financially do that. And a lot of my students, their parents are working 2-3 jobs. They're working a job themselves. That's why they come to a cyber school where there's more flexibility.
Yeah.
But it's so important that kids have a person that they can process with. And, that's honestly part of what my research was specifically what actionable items can adults, essentially across the board, not just teachers, do to support kids. And one of them is being a support person when a kid has none. And that's unfortunately super common. I didn't have a support person at home. And instead it was my homeroom teacher in high school. She's the reason I became a teacher. She's the reason I wrote the thesis I did. It's hard for a kid.
It is. It's terribly hard. It's also hard to witness as well, especially when, you don't know what to do to help, or etc., etc. It becomes an incredibly difficult set of challenges to solve. How can I make sure this person's getting the support they need? And people who don't know what they're doing, trying to help out, and it becomes this very complex and, interwoven topic that I still think that, we're going to spend a long time discussing before we get anywhere close to getting an answer.
Yeah, and truly the best thing any person can do is take the time to learn yourself, because it gets exhausting for the person in that situation to have to explain over and over again. And that goes with basically any invisible illness or disorder, whether it be a physical one or a mental one. But it goes applied with race and religion and things like that as well. Like it's an across the board situation where we individually need to, read, listen to other people. I think that's why TikTok is an incredibly useful resource nowadays. And there's bad information on TikTok. There's bad information on YouTube. There's bad information in any written source that you find.
Yeah.
But if you don't take the time, and a lot of what half of my thesis was really breaking down the DSM definitions of the disorders I covered. Like for bipolar disorder, a lot of people don't understand that there's multiple forms of bipolar disorder. Or they just use bipolar to mean, somebody who flips back and forth between emotions really quickly. It's not what it is. I have bipolar too. And what it is for me is mostly depression. But then sometimes I have what's called a hypermania, where I am impulsive more than anything, or I am more emotional, but it doesn't mean I'm just flipping back and forth between emotions.
I'm flipping back and forth between emotions can represent a variety of issues, mental health issues, personal issues as well. Like, even, you might be reading that person wrong. They might, look like they're flipping back and forth, but like me, can't control their facial expressions half the time and get misread by their poor coworker on the other side of the office.
Gotta love an RBF.
Yeah.
I tend to space out a lot, so it tends to look like I'm staring at somebody, but really I've just dissociated it into outer space, and it's fine.
Oh, yeah, and to fight, like, when you're going to be concentrating on someone, and to fight to, like, oppose that, I often find as well that, like every second person on TikTok, I want to have something else going on at the same time, and I know it's bad for my productivity, but I also know that I like that, and it's not really helpful, and I've had to, make sure I discipline myself in that way, and, there's a variety of things that, like, people do that are outside of what we would consider commercially normal.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a dangerous spiral that we've sort of gotten into as a society, where we have created these very rigid boxes, and our generation and millennials as well, so like the Gen Z millennials, have really done a lot to try and break down those boxes. Like, if you look at protests here in the United States, especially over things like school shootings and everything, they are led by Gen Z. And, that's why I focused on what I did in my thesis, because these kids you and I, have grown up in a post 9/11 world, where the world's economy crashed in our lifetimes. There have been wars across the world. There has never really truly been a time of rest in most kids' worlds nowadays. I can't speak for Australia, obviously, but I know you guys have a lot of connection to, say, the US and Europe and stuff that did go through this stuff. So I'm making the assumption y'all dealt with some shit.
And I'll add that, like, regardless if it happens in one country, and I need to make this clear to anyone who thinks, if it's happening in one country, it doesn't affect me. Regardless of if it happens in another country, you are bound to have run into someone whose family is in the outskirts of France, outskirts of Paris, when COVID hit, or who is of Vietnamese descent and witnessed the horrors of the Vietnam War, which Australia was also involved in.
Yeah.
And then we accepted, refugees and asylum seekers. Or, someone who was an asylum seeker or has been an asylum seeker, and the terrible treatment that Western governments, particularly the UK and Australia, have put on these people. And we've got to remember that takes a toll on us as well. We can't, go, well, it's not happening directly to me, it's not going to take a toll on me.
Yeah. No, we can't live in a bubble anymore. No. And I think, no offense to older listeners, but I think people our age, I'm 25, high school age up to people in their mid-20s right now really are leading the way in just being fucking done with us not embracing the world as a whole. They're around the same time as I don't know how much you remember, but Paris, I think it was 2014, had the bombings. Right around that time in Lahore, Pakistan, there were even more devastating bombings that happened, including at a park where it was predominantly families with children there. And for me, that was harder because my best friend in high school, her family was from Lahore. Her family was from simply down the street from where that bombing happened. And it was so hard on her to see just all the France stuff. And don't get me wrong, awful. We support for France as well. But it was so hard to see no news coverage at all of what happened in Lahore. Literally nothing. I checked pretty much every news source that I had access to, and the only place covering it was Al Jazeera. That I had access to as an English speaker, I should say. Obviously, places in the Arabic world, over in Pakistan, and there are several languages they speak there, India, those places were covering it, of course. But our Western media was all just about Paris. So it's a really hard thing to reflect on and turn around and go that that impacted people, regardless of what's making headlines. There are events around the world that are impacting people negatively, whether it is that a family member has died of a gunshot wound, or the mother, a mother has had to go to hospital for, health complications, and the children are left at home alone, or, the parents can't afford to have a parent at home, or, someone responsible at home to look after the children and keep an eye on the children. And that is really, we just don't acknowledge how much that impacts people individually. Yeah. And PTSD and depression and anxiety disorders are really on the rise anymore, especially with COVID. That created a huge trauma response, especially in kids who went from the stability of going to school every day to the complete unknown of what the next steps are. And
exactly.
We are not acknowledging the trauma that kids went through. Instead, we say, oh, just suck it up. And that is literally the worst person you can say, or thing you can say to a person with any sort of illness, whether it be physical or mental. Just suck it up. It's fine. You wouldn't say that to somebody with cancer. You wouldn't just go up to Hank Green right now and say, well, suck it up. You're fine. You have money. Just because he has money doesn't mean he is not in physical pain. Well,
on the Hank, I don't know. It's fascinating. You mentioned Hank Green. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. I do remember someone commentating saying it's Hank Green is now has in a gamble with his life, and who knows what kind of toll. I think if Hank Green died tomorrow, touch wood, he won't. But
Yeah.
if Hank Green, if that happened, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a sweeping mental health crisis across the Western world.
Especially in kids and people our age
Yeah.
who grew up with things like Crash Course.
Yeah.
Crash Course started while I was in high school, and biology class, we spent pretty much every day having Hank Green talk to us.
Yeah. And this is the thing, Hank Green, the way he delivers his education is in an accessible, and, it's not necessarily practical for all kinds of education, but it is, it is an accessible, easy to understand way that can move at a variety of different paces, so you can make sure you fully understand content. We used Crash Course chemistry videos for our chemistry classes, especially as we entered our final year of high school, and support was starting to be taken away from us as we're supposed to do everything ourselves. And those kinds of tidbits of information and accessible learning opportunities really do make the education experience overwhelmingly more positive.
Yeah, and we might make fun of kids for being, internally, I would never outwardly make fun of a kid. Well, unless I have permission. I have one kid, we have that relationship. Anyway.
Yeah.
She made fun of me for getting into a car crash. Specifically because she also had been in a hit and run earlier that year. So she's the only person where I have that relationship. But we see people get judgmental about an emotional response to what's happening in celebrity lives. But if you're a kid who might not have somebody in their life that they see themselves in, they will attach to a celebrity, and that's fine. They're allowed to do that. I personally don't get along well with my mom, that's a whole thing. So I had to look for female role models that I could attach to elsewhere. For me, it was my teachers. They willingly filled that role for me. But for some kids, it's a celebrity. And, when Chadwick Boseman died, I don't tend to cry over celebrities. I feel bad because they're people. But Chadwick Boseman, I had a true emotional response to it and cried on my couch because I knew what he meant to my nephew, who did not have any black role models in his life. And, he got so excited when we got Sam Wilson in Captain America 2, but got even more excited when we had Black Panther. And so when his death was announced, my friend called me to tell me.
Yeah.
My response was initially, oh my God, but then it was, oh my God, my nephew's going to be devastated. And he's not going to know how to process this because he's 8.
Yeah. And, I think this is where, and coming back to, making supportive spaces for people who are suffering mentally, any kind of emotional response to a set of events or, text or something needs to be taken seriously, because who knows what's triggered that, emotional response, and how, we should be processing it, and how we should be, handling to make sure that the person who's having that emotional response is okay.
Yeah, I have a pretty open platform with my kids. I have an anonymous, we'll call it a tip line. It's a Microsoft form that's anonymous where they can submit stuff to me to be like, hey, this is happening. They can put their name if they need me to specifically know. Or I build in grade checks, and it's, okay, you're behind. Please just tell me why. Like, be honest with me. Because, especially for me, where I'm not physically with my students.
Yeah.
It's even harder for me because, let's be honest, I teach teenagers. They never turn their camera on. I could be walking right by a student on a normal basis and have no clue what they look like. But I can't know unless they tell me, and that goes in person too. Like, when I was teaching in a brick and mortar school during my student teaching, we had parent teacher conferences, and we had a dad come in and be like, hey, just so you know, blank and I's, or Blank's parents, my wife and I are currently going through a really rocky divorce.
Yeah.
And this kid, we had issues with him acting out, being, frankly, an asshole to us. And it gave so much more context and gave us a leg to decide, okay, how do we support this kid in a different way? And, you know, I pulled him aside that following Monday afterwards, and I let him know that I knew. And we had a good talk in the hallway, and ever since at that point, he was fantastic for us. And I think it all came down to, you know, I could have just held on to that information, not let him know that I knew, and just moved on, and we probably wouldn't have solved any issues. But even, and like I said, a lot of my research applies to, you know, regular life. If you find out, you know, something's happening in your friend's life, it's okay to let them know that you understand what they are currently facing. That you are there as a support if they want and need it. It's important to not force support on them, because sometimes they just need to process on their own. Everybody has their own processing. But it can make the difference to remind somebody that they do have somebody in their corner should they need it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that in general as well, you know, people who are receiving education really do appreciate transparency above all else when it comes to the people that they're interacting with. That you know, I found that the best educators I ever worked with, and the best educators I ever learnt from, were people who were transparent to, you know, the people they were educating, telling them what's going on, how, you know, what the reaction is going to be, and, you know, simply how they can support, you know, the classroom or the individual or, you know, the group of children. Like, it's a really important thing, I think, in education.
Yeah, and that goes with transparency with the teacher as well. Like, obviously there are some things you're not going to share. Like, if you're going through a divorce, maybe don't bring that up. But for me, I've always been very transparent with having bipolar and anxiety and PTSD with my students. That's not a decision every teacher can or wants to make, and I respect that. But I do it because then I can let them know at the beginning of class, hey, I am having a bad day, so if I seem off, it is not you guys. And it is important to remind them, because then I don't want them wondering all day long, is my teacher mad at me? Did we do something wrong? And for listeners, I was in a hit and run in March, and I obviously was pretty emotional after that. And I told the kids right away that Monday after it happened, hey, this week is going to be rough. I'm going to be behind in grading. I told them what happened. I was like, I am currently in pain, but, you know, we're going to work through this together. And, you know, I at the same time, like, I'm supporting them, they supported me. And it's obviously easier. I teach teenagers. Next year, I'm only teaching 11th and 12th graders, so the minimum age I'll probably have is 16. But I'm looking at more, 17, 18-year-olds about to graduate.
Yeah.
It's kids are allowed to be supportive of adults as well. After I mentioned that, that happened, my school has like a chat feature that makes it easier for us to just interact with kids. Because frankly, a lot of them don't want to get on the phone, which same. I had a few kids who didn't even come to class but watched the recording of class, be like, hey, I saw your recording, I hope you're feeling better, and stuff like that. And that can truly make all the difference even in a teacher's life, to know that, hey, that support and respect goes both ways. And kids will give back the respect you give them.
Exactly. And, that's where you get mutual job satisfaction, mutual, results satisfaction. You create a better climate for people to be able to do what they need to do.
Yeah. And that's why I say this applies to the regular workplace too. Like, if you are a person who manages other people, whatever title that entails, you will not get respect if you do not respect the people that you are over. And that includes a certain amount of transparency. Obviously, you don't have to reveal everything. Like, if you had a fight with your spouse the night before, maybe don't air that, but you can say, hey, I'm not doing well today. My anger or my frustrations are not towards you. Or, maybe just pull back a little that day overall. You don't even have to say anything. Just, a lot of it is self-awareness of, this is where I'm at. It's why I talk about having bipolar specifically very openly. Because if I pull back, somebody is going to recognize, okay, they're just having a bad day. They're pulling back. Yeah. Whereas if I wasn't open, and once again, I know I keep putting this caveat, it is not the same for everybody, especially because of the stigma that mental illness has in Eastern societies, especially in African societies. I have students where they truly cannot talk about it at home because there is not an understanding of that.
Exactly.
But I have found it easier for myself personally to just be transparent about it, because then people aren't left wondering, oh, well, she's just being a bitch. Which sometimes, caveat, sometimes I'm just a bitch. Like, my nickname in my group chat with my college friends is literally Colossal Bitch, which I made myself.
Oh, look. I don't create nicknames on group chats anymore because people seem to do a better job than I do. But yeah, no, that's so important. And we forget, and this is why, not that I want to dwell on it too much, standardized testing is a massive problem with our education systems collectively, because we can't, apply a one-size-fits-all approach to education. That's not how humans work. We know that's not how humans work because we admit it in other areas of society. Yet somehow we seem to be hung up on the fact that we must have a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah, when this is along the same lines, but because we're a cyber school, we have to do state testing still. And what that entails is us going to different sites around the state to do it with the kids in person. We're not allowed to do it virtually. And I ran the one for the 3rd through 8th graders here in the US. So that's like 8 to 9 up to, 14-ish. And I had a kid during the math one, I think it was. So for that grade group, there's reading, math, and science. And during the math one, I had a kid. Everybody else was done, except for this one who was working himself up so hard over this test. And he finally came out for a break. He all he had was like 8 questions left. And his mom took him by the shoulders and said, "It does not matter this much." And we'd been telling him that all day. But he was worried his mom was going to be mad that he didn't try. And I let her know when she came. And she was like, "No, that is never how I have felt." And when he came out, she was like, "I don't want you to feel this way." And
yeah, exactly.
I hate standardized testing. I'm really good at standardized testing because I'm a really good test taker. I read really fast. I know that about myself, but I also am aware that not all kids are like that. My eldest sister, like, is one of the smartest people I know. Cannot take a test for the life of her. She's a very successful nurse, but testing in high school was hard. Like, doing her SAT and everything was really difficult. And it truly takes, literally, my entire thesis really boiled down in the end to flexibility and letting yourself understand others. Like, you have to do the work in yourself too.
Exactly. It's a really important concept, and we so struggle to get our heads around it from time to time. It's easy to automatically kind of slot back into that, easy thinking, I'm just going to do what society tells me to do. And, society might not be telling you to do this. You might be assuming society is telling you to do this. And that is often, what you think is societal expectations is not anymore, or will not be, by the time, whatever you're doing matters. And I think that's, even for myself, like, today I really should have taken a sick day, but I refused to because I really wanted to get the work done. And I had to speak to my coworker about it. And she said to me, this is not healthy for you. You're going to, deteriorate further. And I said, I'm aware of the consequences. And I think that this is, I pushed myself into a point where, I was working myself too hard. And so I had a real hard think about it, and I readjusted my expectations for the day. I still attended work the whole day because I'm stupid and crazy. But
I feel that.
But yeah, like, there was one particular task I really wanted to get done today because I really enjoyed doing it and I knew it was going to be a fun task. It did take me all day to do it, but that was my only goal, not the 3 other things I needed to have done through the day. I've pushed them back to another day when I'm healthy enough to get on a sustainable workload.
No, I'm dumb, and there have been 2 occasions where I've been in the hospital the night before and went to work the next day, even though I got home from said hospital at like 7 a.m. and my work day starts at 7:30 a.m. Because part of it's I do love my job, but part of it is we have such a societal expectation to not take days off. And I will say I have an extraordinarily supportive boss. I would die without her physically, literally, because she makes me take my time off when I am when I desperately need it. But, you know, I worked right after my accident. You know, I do have the luxury, because I teach cyber. I do go into an office and I'm around people most of the time, but I do have the luxury of staying home if I need to. And because of that, I was able to sit in a chair that worked better with my injuries. You know, I have flexibility in that if I am not teaching and I am that sick, I'm not going to get penalized for needing to take breaks more often. And obviously for most teachers, that is not how it works, especially nowadays. At least here in the US, there's a severe teaching shortage, mostly because parents are awful. If you have a parent of a school-age child, check yourself sometimes. Like, we will often say it is not the kids that drive us out of the profession. It is the adults. Because there is not the culture anymore. At least here in the US, it used to be believe the teacher first. And now it's the kids always telling the truth, and truly they're not most of the time. But, you know, it's a really weird issue now where, like, our generation, the millennials, are like, no, we're tired of being worked to death, but it's trying to break the mold that was set by the boomers and Gen X of, you know, continuing to work, building up those sick and personal days, not taking them. And literally schools are denying teachers their time off because they don't have coverage. And I know I am incredibly privileged in the work environment that I have. I am incredibly happy with the school I work for. And part of it is, I don't fear for my safety every day, you know, going into work. Yeah, exactly. Like, we're not dealing with, you know, bomb threats and gun threats and, you know, oh shit, I'm going to get sick every 5 seconds. The reason I started with cyber when I got out was purely because I have very weak lungs from, like, repeated pneumonia and bronchitis. And I couldn't risk going into a school with COVID being, like, so prevalent. And obviously we still take our own, you know, steps for protection in our lives, but all of this weighs people down. And if you have PTO, if you have a sick day, please, for the love of God, take it. Now, please don't abuse that system. I know there are plenty of people who take way too many sick and personal days. And that does hurt other people in the business. It is important to acknowledge that you are hired for a job. And you need to do that job in order to not hurt other people. But for me, I'm a salaried worker. I have a set number of PTO and sick days. I'm going to take them every year because it's good for me to do so.
I've got two things. I think on top of that, we've got to add the fact that a lot of our generations are taking jobs that we are passionate about nowadays rather than jobs that we feel like we should be doing. And so therefore, when you feel passionate about something, you're going to really struggle to tear yourself away from, you know, what you're finding passionate.
Exactly.
Which is, and you know, that's part of the reason why I didn't want to take a day off yet, you know, the day just gone, because it's really hard to, you know, justify to myself why I deserve that day off. I think on top of that, and this is a fun fact for everyone, a trademark fun fact, I didn't realise that long service leave is a uniquely Australian thing. I don't know. Someone was saying, I haven't been able to verify it, but long service leave is this thing where you accumulate through your pay certain number of hours of leave, and after 7 years, you're able to take on that leave, and after 10 years, if you leave the job, you're able to get that leave cashed out. And what that was for was because people came from England, white people came from England, and they wanted to go back for many months at a time to go see, family back in Europe. So it was literally the start of the hot girl European summer. I didn't realise it was an Australian thing. And I would encourage the people, if you have a form of long service leave, I don't know whether it's spread to other countries, please take it as well. Long service leave is a valuable asset for your mental health. It helps you avoid burnout when you get, many years into your career.
Yeah. Some professions have, here in the US, it's not something across the board. But some professions have adopted something similar. In the teaching profession, it's after so many years, you can take a sabbatical and go do something you're passionate about. So my homeroom teacher, took one to finish her master's thesis in genocide studies. Not exactly the happiest sabbatical, but it was something she was passionate about. She's since left the teaching profession, but it's because she's pursuing her PhD in that area. But I had a teacher who, my Spanish teacher took hers so that she could go back into immersion in Spain, which she did in college. And, that helped her develop her craft, develop her skill. But she also was able to return to the friends she had made in a place like Spain. So, we have something like that. You're supposed to technically do something while you're on sabbatical. It can take several forms, but
that's
take leave.
It's very, take a break. And this is where everyone makes the complaint. Oh, teachers only work through the term time, and theoretically, they A, aren't paid, but B, are theoretically off. Through school holidays and things like that. That is not no. That's not how that necessarily A, works. But B, also, you often have the equivalent of that kind of break. Probably not 12 to 15 weeks of it, but a fair amount of time off. Although I did realise, and I'm now remembering this now, America doesn't have annual leave, good annual leave entitlement.
Nope. We suck.
No, I've got by law, it's a minimum of 4 weeks here. And because I work every public holiday bar Good Friday and Christmas Day, I take 6 weeks annual leave, which allows me to go and meet up with the gang in Richmond, which is something that's definitely happening very soon, and I'm very excited about.
Sam's it's winter here. I'll go to the beach with you guys. That's fine.
Look, I think I'm ready for warmer weather. I had a taste of warmer weather the other weekend, and I'm ready for my my hot girl American summer instead of European summer. More guns, more beach.
Oh God. Oh. Thankfully, we are effectively in the middle of nowhere for our vacation.
Also, it is the set of, a large drama TV show on Netflix.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, it's fine. But
that's how I describe where I'm going to every Australian that asks where I'm going.
Oh, good. For context, we're going to the Outer Banks. But yeah, take your leave. I will say Joseph, my fiance, he doesn't get that much leave, but he gets a much better leave package than a lot of people. And we're getting married next year, and then it's okay, do we have kids and things? And so we have looked at what our leave packages are. And he does get he gets 6 weeks of paternal leave. Which,
oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Which is, truly amazing for an American job. Which...
It's more progressive than Australia is as a country.
Oh. Well, yeah, and, and that includes, for us, like, adoptive or foster children as well.
Oh, wow.
For both of our jobs, like, that is included. Because it's a transition period when you bring any child into your life.
Exactly.
But, he struggles with taking time off. And I'm like, my dude, he barely uses his sick days. And I'm like, you have a doctor's appointment. Rather than, working that extra 2 hours that you took to go to the doctor, just take the day off. And he struggles so hard with it. And I'm like, you have these days. You've been given these days. You have a supportive boss. He and I are both very lucky to have supportive bosses. I know that's not for not everybody. Like, my boss will physically make me take time off when I am sick or mentally unwell. But, please take your leave if you have it. Like, as long, like I said, as long as you're not doing it in excess to the point where it's detrimental for other people, and it is good to reflect on that. Like, especially if you're in something like childcare or something, like, make sure you're reflecting on, that kind of thing. But like, we are not allowed to take more than 3 days off at a time unless we have, like, approval. Like, there are situations like like, if you get married, you can take, like, more than the 3 days off. Like, that's okay. Or if somebody's sick, or there are reasons. Or if you're going on a once in a lifetime vacation, please go. But we do ask that you limit it to 3 in a row, because being out that long can affect, the kids or, the fellow teachers. And I'm very transparent with the kids, being like, hey, I'm going to be out these days. This is whether or not I'm going to be able to answer your emails during this time. Because I try to, at least check my chats and my emails, even if I'm out, just to make sure everybody's, like, not had some emotional breakdown and I need to send them to the guidance office. But yeah, truly take your leave. It's for your benefit to do so. If you don't, you're gonna burn out, and I say this as somebody who does work in a form of childcare, will be detrimental to others.
Exactly.
So like I said, there is excess in both sides, an excess of not and an excess of too much. Take the time to reflect of, okay, there are other people depending on you, but you can't do your job if you are not doing any breaks. Like,
exactly. It's really important, and that doesn't just apply to adults with jobs or people who have the luxury to take leave. Taking time off, taking time to reflect, is very important, regardless of whether you're a student who's listening to this. By the way, you shouldn't be a student who's listening to this unless you're a uni student, and then go ahead, keep procrastinating. I give you approval to do that.
I'm with you guys.
Godspeed. Take a break. It's important. When I lost my job last year, I knew I was going to take a break. Luckily, I happened to be on holidays right as I lost my job, so I enjoyed my holiday, and then spent some time reflecting as things start back up again, and reassessing whether I could commit to mentally finishing my university degree and holding down a job. And I made the decision that it wasn't right for me, and while I regret part of that decision, I think I could have done a better job at making sure my finances were well managed, and I was well set up, and supportive for it. I was able to really make sure I had that support all the way through to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, and I tell my kids, like, log in for attendance. Like, show up, please. But then go put it away. Like, take a mental sick day. You are allowed to do that. But I also tell them, please don't make it, like, a month long, because then you're going to get a little behind. But a day or two a month, like, can make the difference for a kid. And people are like, well, they have weekends. It's different. It is different when you take off a weekday when you have work or you have school, because you feel the burden off of you. Like, it is actively lifted. Whereas, the weekends are passive, you're off. It's fine. But
Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, I keep putting this caveat. Everybody's situations are different. Everybody's jobs are different. Some jobs celebrate you taking time off, especially in different countries. And like I said, if you have your days, please use them. Take whatever time you are given off.
Yeah.
Maybe don't take like 2 months off at a time. That might be an issue. Or like, don't take every other week off unless that's how your job is set up. That we're getting into a little gray area. But, take the day, take 3 days, take a week if you need it. Like, go on a trip. Like, don't let societal expectations keep you from taking a vacation or letting your body heal when you have something like COVID or the flu or something that really takes a toll on your body, Sam. You cannot.
Thanks, Taylor.
You cannot be your best employee self. You cannot be your best student self. You cannot be your best parent self if you run yourself into the ground.
Exactly. And I think on that lovely note, we might wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Taylor, so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. It is 7 a.m. here, so I am going to go back to sleep. Sam should
the
go
tables
to
on the podcast recording.
Sam should go to actual sleep.
Look, I'll go back to actual sleep. I've got to be up at 6 a.m. in the morning anyway, so...
Samuel.
But it's... I don't know. It's Christina approved. That's all I'll say. It's not, but that's okay. Taylor, did you want to be found on the internet?
If you want to, you can follow me at Tay_ballet on Instagram, as well. Like with most of DXM, I don't do Twitter. I was the model for this, obviously, as I got rid of my Twitter a while ago because I just didn't use it. Obviously, that's why everybody had followed my lead. No, it's because Elon Musk is a terrible person. But yeah, if you want to see pictures of my dog, that's mostly what my Instagram is. Or if you join any of the network Patreons, you can always find me on the Discord. And another thing that we have is a book club for the patrons and friends of the pod, including a lot of the hosts that I run every month. And by that I mean I manage the Discord. Although this coming month we are reading Fahrenheit 451, which I am leading. So yeah, you can find me around. I'm around.
I'm excited to read that book.
Have you ever read it?
Yeah. No, never have. My brother did for year 12 English, but I didn't.
Oh, okay. I think you specifically will enjoy it, just because of what your profession is.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yay, we love that. Definitely go check out My Cabbages, the restricted section, or of the Eldest Gods, and their Patreons. Obviously, if you prefer another show and are willing to wait, although you will miss out on cool events and fun things to do, you are more than welcome to wait for another, Deus Ex Media podcast to get a Patreon. I actually don't know when, another Patreon will be launched, but you're more than welcome to wait if you want.
It's only $1 a month, even if you just want to throw
it's
somebody's
only $1
away.
a month.
I'm an American dollar a month. I don't know what the conversions are. Sorry, y'all.
I think it's $1.20 at the moment, or $1.25.
Yeah, we have people from all over the world. You know, we're chilling. We're chilling.
We're chilling. Taylor, was there anything that you wanted to plug?
Oh shoot, I forgot about plugs. That's a thing. Huh, what am I... Oh, I just finished 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know I'm behind the curve on that. I know it's been out for 6 years. But I greatly enjoyed that book. It made me... It's not my normal type of book. Like, it's told in flashbacks in an interview sort of form from a starlet in her almost 80 now, and like her time, and obviously she had 7 husbands. It has gay elements if you're looking for something like that. I will say there is a trigger warning there for cancer, alcoholism, suicide, things like that, but I really greatly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've heard it's a good book. My mother, I think, read it at one point and got very excited by it, but I don't know. I'm bad at reading books at the moment. I'm going to get back into that. You can find me at sam.the.journalist on Instagram and on TikTok. You can find me on Twitter. I'm just not going to plug it. I'm sorry. We're beyond plugging Twitter at this point. This week, I'm going to plug the Great British Bake Off because I finally got access to like some of that content from whatever media company owns the Great British Bake Off. I don't know, it's different everywhere. I started watching it. I know. It's actually owned by Fox, the streaming service, which is News Corp's Australian. Which is great. I don't pay for that one, so I don't need to be ethically worried about it. But no, definitely go check it out. I've definitely watched a whole season while I was in the States and had access to it on Netflix. And it's just insanely funny, insanely interesting, and sometimes incredibly frustrating as someone who regularly bakes.
Yeah, sometimes I just want to, like, punch someone. Like, I watched a guy, like, just throw his entire thing in the trash because he got frustrated, and I'm like, please. Oh, my God. And then he didn't present anything to the judges. Oh, frustrating.
Don't tell me that's James Acaster.
Oh, no.
No.
That does sound like something he'd do, though.
Exactly. No. No. What a great show. Funny people all around, and definitely go check it out. Well, thank you once again, Taylor, so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm sorry it was sort of a downer for people.
Look, we've got to have uppers and downers. I think we've had like consistent uppers through the first half of the year. So we're in our let's talk serious business phase of the season.
I'm here to depress people. That's my job in the world. That's why I teach depressory, as my kids call my class.
Yeah, we heard about sociolinguistics. We'll probably hear about sociolinguistics another 3 times at this rate. And who knows what the Barbie movie has in store, but I'll probably assure you that there are definitely serious undertones in that one.
Yeah, from the trailer, yes.
Yeah, I'm so excited. If you're not planning on watching the Barbie movie, I don't know whether I can be friends with you anymore.
Oh.
And on that note, we'll finish up.
Okay, goodbye.
Content and Capable was recorded, edited and produced by Samuel O'Brien. You can follow the podcast at Content, the letter N, Capable on Instagram, and you can find it on Facebook. You can also send an email through to contentandcapablepod@gmail.com with any of your thoughts, queries or concerns. The best way to support the podcast is to leave a review on your preferred podcatcher so more people can hear the podcast. The art was done by Opia, and the music was written, edited and produced by Jason Hilton. Content and Capable is proud to be a part of the Deus Ex Media Network, where you can find a podcast for any of your nerdy interests.
Hey, what's up? My name's Christina, and I'm the host of The Restricted Section, which is a super, super pro-trans rights Harry Potter slander, Harry Potter book club podcast in which all of those weird kids you went to high school with are still reading the damn thing, but now we don't like it as much. Come along with us as we break down this classic fantasy series and show you how it is actually extremely problematic, not only the author, but also the text itself. We should have known. We were so young and innocent. If only we could have trusted the adults who are writing the things that we put into our brain. But anyway, don't get me wrong, we enjoy Harry Potter, we have a good time. We're currently covering Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, which is probably for the best because I don't really remember any of that book, despite the fact that I've read it probably 10 times. Come along with me into the world of Harry and take a intersectional feminist lens, a racial justice lens, a queer rights lens, all the lenses that the author probably wishes we wouldn't use to break down this book to figure out why we love it and why it's bad. New episodes every Wednesday wherever you get podcasts.
Thank you for listening to Content and Capable. Don't forget to rate and review, and we'll see you next week for another episode.
Deus Ex Media.